video is absolutely the world's most favorite form of storytelling. You know, you think about the last, like every once in a while I'll read a book that makes me emotional.
Yeah.
I see movies all the time, and I'm like, oh God, hopefully nobody sees that I'm leaking over here. And you know, it's the thing that you remember. And so so I love the medium. It lands, you know, so effectively with people. So, and obviously it's just growing all the time. And then technique is like, can we do this in a fun way? And you see so many people doing this right now. Like, you know, I talk about her a lot, but Cleo Abram and Johnny Harris is another one out there. These are people who, you know, are taking very complex ideas and bringing them to people at scale, and they're learning it, and you walk away and you're like, have a sophisticated insight. So I found that inspirational.
Yeah.
And then brand or purpose, you know. So one of the things that I learned from being a Business Insider, but also this is true of CNBC and the Wall Street Journal and others, is that people trust a business publication from, you know, no matter what their politics are, more so than they do other publications. So many publications are sort of immediately coded red or blue. Mm-hmm. And whether they intend to or not, often they intend to, but even if they don't, they get coded that way. And I think that that's a blocker. I think people kind of don't receive information from something they see as coded as the other side. But when you're talking about business, you can talk about a lot of the same fact set, but it's just a different conversation. And so you can actually relate to people. And, you know, we live in a world where people, you know, trust in media is low. We're not agreeing on facts anymore. And so for me, in terms of like inspiration, you know, I do want to say one of the things is I'm a CEO now. Mm-hmm. So I want to have a great business too. But in addition to having a great business, the thing that kind of is the motivating factor for me is, let's talk to people in a way that they'll actually hear and have a different conversation than everybody else is.
And so what kind of content can we expect from Dynamo? Like it's going to be producing content, video content?
Yeah.
What are the kind of things that we can expect?
Sure. Well, you know, you can expect 12 to 18 minute YouTube videos.
Got it.
And we're going to launch a show. We're going to launch a show in the second quarter. That first show is going to be this. I haven't told anybody this publicly. I mean,
breaking news.
It's going to be, here we go. It's called Business Explains the World.
Okay.
And it's going to be a show where business isn't necessarily the question; it's the answer. Mm-hmm. And so the fun example for me is one I've been thinking about a long time, and I really hope we make this video because I talk about it all the time. But it's. You scroll through TikTok a bit and you start to see eventually, everyone sees the North Sea videos eventually. And it's like you see these ships sailing through these insane 160, feet waves, and you see oil platforms like almost knocked over by just giant. So I see that and I see a business story. It's like, if you do a little research, it turns out, people used to die all the time on this sea, trying to do this job, trying to pursue this industry. What happened? And so I don't know the answer yet, but a little bit, it seems like, major manufacturers came up with huge innovations, and at the heart of it are engineering innovations, and at the heart of that is like incentive, and so let's explore that. Let's have a great animation that talks about like how engine stabilizers came about, or how helicopter rescues got better, and what is the business story there,
right? And
what is that? Maybe taking a step back, what does it say about global trade?
Yeah.
In an interconnected world, and why that's a valuable thing, which sometimes, is an open question now, as if people value that interconnected global trade as much as they used to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of content I think that does really well on YouTube.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So
good. That's a good sign.
Now, on the flip side,
yeah.
Whenever somebody in media talks about a video startup, or a video media company, it sends a shiver down the spine of a lot of people that work in media, because of the infamous pivot to video that a lot of publishers did a couple years ago, and a lot of them, Vice Media, BuzzFeed, ended up collapsing because video is expensive.
Yes.
The rug was pulled out from under them in terms of distribution by social media platforms, and they ended up having to lay off a bunch of people, and the value of the properties collapsed. Did that make you think twice about this idea, and how are you going
You're like, are you sure you want to do this?
Sure my guess is, and I don't want to answer the question for you, but that Vice obviously got way over its skis, and a lot of these places put way too much money without seeing revenues on the front end.
Yeah.
So how do you do video in a way that works, that's profitable?
Yeah, I mean, so first off, you focus on that.
Sure.
That's, I joke, and I'm not going to name a name here, but I was speaking with one of the, and it's not Henry, certainly not Henry actually, one of the CEOs at one of these things. And, they made great video stuff. And this person was like, yeah, I mean, we just didn't really think about the economics in the beginning. It was just go and like, we think we need to do this.
Well, as someone who'd covered it for forever, is that because they were treating it like they were Uber and they just had an enormous amount of VC money and that would just last forever and they only cared about the valuation of the company? They didn't really care about whether it was profitable?
Yeah, I mean, it's multifactorial.
Right. Okay.
But one of the elements for sure is, look, I come from watching Henry do this, and Henry only ever raised $70 million. Okay. And he only ever spent 30 of it, And so Vice, BuzzFeed, Vox, these places raised hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases more than, I know they had multi-billion-dollar valuations. And so, I know whole rounds came in at like $275 million or something like that. And so, and to a degree what happened is when you have that much money, you then go to the board meeting and they are like, are you spending it?
Right.
And we gave this money to you for a reason. Please spend it fast. Try whole big things. Go. And, I think that this industry is more of an incrementalist industry. And so what I witnessed from Henry, and this is certainly how we'll run Dynamo too, is more of a unit economics focused, incremental, experiment, try, grow when you're confident kind of business. And so, and the other thing that happened too is that those companies were primarily focused on being something closer to a fashion label or a perfume brand than they were being a publication that absolutely served a specific audience and then grew as they serve that audience better and better based on metrics, right? So people talk, there are flaws with focusing on metrics too much, but one of the benefits of it is it means people are actually consuming you a lot.
Right.
Vice, I'll pick on Vice, Shane Smith is a hell of a salesman. And he just like seemed cool, right?
Yeah.
And they just needed to make stuff that seemed cool. Now, they also made incredible stuff, right? But a focus wasn't, this has to be seen or else we die.
Right.
It was more like it needs to seem cool or else we die.
Yeah, it's Shane Smith walking around the Williamsburg headquarters with the Rolex on, and people seeing that and saying, oh, this is a cool brand, this works.
And just to be super clear, I am in no way denigrating the excellent work done by hundreds of people. And in fact,
Vice was a great brand.
Yeah, they made I'll never forget the Behind Enemy Lines video.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that thing was amazing. And many others, the Charlottesville.
The Vice documentaries were huge
Remember the Charlottesville video?
Yeah. Oh,
incredible.
Incredible. Was that Elle?
Yes, great glasses.
She's
That's
great.
what I remember about her.
Great glasses. Yeah. She's now at CNN.
Okay.
She did a good job.
Yeah. And so anyway, I think that business of just, as I create Dynamo, I want it to be cool. You know? But I think that being the only thing you're focused on, or actually the most important thing you're focused on, gets you in trouble.
So is the idea to be sort of nimble, start small, scale cautiously?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We want to be a nice big business,
right?
But I'm not walking around telling anybody I admire much that Jonah Peretti did, but he talked about being Disney a lot. Disney's a $30 billion company. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean,
a lot more than just a website,
right?
Yeah, it's diversified.
And when you're thinking like that, it does lead to okay, we have hundreds of millions of dollars spent.
Right.
Just caution.
Yeah.
So Dynamo is a unit economics focused journalism company.
Okay.
And that means kind of other people from other industries hear people like me talk about this and they're like, that's how businesses are supposed to be run. But you know what product you're making, how much revenue can you get from it over time, and you make sure you spend less than that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do.
So you were at the position where you were head of Business Insider, which is a large publication. You leave to launch Dynamo, and you've, as I noted, you've covered and been in the media industry for all your career, aside from
little tiny stint,
ill-fated Merrill Lynch stint.
Merrill Lynch is a wonderful company. My dad still works there.
Okay, good to hear. So it sounds like you, looking at all that, you thought video is the future of the media business, and the media business is obviously, and we talk about this on this show a lot of people are not particularly optimistic about the future of news or media.
Yeah.
Are you optimistic about it, and is the future in video as you see it?
I think it's a future.
Okay.
I think there's a couple other mediums. I do think, so my cousin is an aspiring new journalist. He actually, without telling me, got a fellowship, at Business Insider. I was proud of her. It's like she showed up when, you didn't even tell me. And we were talking about where to go next. And what I was saying to her is like, what are people actually using?
Right.
What is actually very useful to someone? And, I'll go back to trade journalism for a second. It's actually functional.
Yeah.
Where is function being created? Where do people are delighted in this, and they want more. And so there's little pockets of that all over, right? So, there are people who are making careers out of being helpful, educational, topical people on TikTok. There's a lot of those people, and that's a nice career. And they're going to have to learn a lot of lessons about journalism, I think. And some of those things we think of as old school journalism rules are there to help you, the company, and so they'll learn some of that stuff. And but I also think newsletters have a big future. Whatever your politics are, you look at Barry Weiss and what she's built on Substack.
Free press.
It's like obviously she has identified an audience that really wants more of that, and she's cultivated a group of journalists who want to do it for her at not exorbitant prices. And and also the other key piece is that it's a distribution medium that is durable. Once you have a subscriber to your newsletter, it's yours. And so I think, I'm very bullish on people who are starting valuable newsletters as individuals or newsletter companies. And yes, I believe in video, of course. It's a big, meaningful platform to watch on. And it's funny, like, I think we're sitting in a studio right now that shows that people can be successful on YouTube. But you talk to lots of media reporters who are very focused on places like, say, the Washington Post, which is, sold many years ago for $200 million and loses hundreds of millions of dollars over periods of years now. And it's like that place gets a lot. I mean, of course, it has a storied reputation and it's an iconic and important company.
Right.
But it gets a lot of coverage, but no one talks
for its influence and how many people are reading it.
I mean, there are many companies that, we probably think of as creators on YouTube and beyond that are thriving right now. And they're not worried about the future of whatever they're doing. They're like, this is great.
This is great. Making a lot of money from it.
This is working for me.